All right, J-Man here. It's the LaunchPad Podcast featuring me. It is Season 2, Episode 4, and I have my good friend, entrepreneur, Mr. Matthew Britt. How are you doing there, buddy?
I'm doing great, J-Man. Thank you so much for having me on. And by the way, congratulations on the podcast. I think that this is a great fit for you, and I'm excited to see where you take it. I know you're still early in the game, but there is, I think there's a lot of promise for you. You have a passion for radio based on, all your years of experience there. And I've always thought that you would make a great podcast host. And I think there's something special that can come from this. So again, Congrats, buddy.
Fantastic. I appreciate that edification. We're going back. It's interesting. There's so many things that I've learned from you in the past. Now, for those of you that don't know of Matthew and my history, I met him many, many years ago when we were both with Body by Vi, which you were incredibly successful at. And that takes us all the way back to your pre-Vi days, which is you started as a personal trainer, and that's what gained your interest in shake-based nutrition and that whole element, correct?
Yeah, so I was doing personal training, and at the same time, I was also in the network marketing industry, and this was going back to about 2004. Okay. Was when I got into working at the gym at the college here in Ottawa, and at the same time, I was also introduced to network marketing and got into the industry at that point, and continued both kind of careers at the same time. Between 2004 and 2010, I was kind of excelling as a personal trainer and sucking really bad as a network marketer, but I was learning a lot. I was reading books. I was attending every event. I was listening to the personal development tapes. I was expanding my brain and just being a really hungry student. I think what actually helped me be successful when the Body by Vi challenge came into my life and ViSalus came into my life again was that I had put in the preparatory work. I had put in those hours of failure and sacrifice and was willing to suck and make mistakes and get criticized for it and not care and just keep moving forward, so that when ViSalus came back into my life in 2010, I was ready to take on that leadership role and take action into it. And I wasn't afraid to walk away from my job when I saw the right opportunity. And, that makes all the difference in the world. And I definitely would credit the preparatory time as one of the major factors for my success within ViSalus and Body by Vi.
Mm-hmm. So you generated well beyond six figures with Body by Vi.
Well beyond seven figures.
7 figures. Okay.
Yeah.
Which is incredible because that puts you obviously in very rare air to be able to generate that much income. And what was the biggest takeaway from all that hard work, all the income earned, that you find has served as your most valuable lesson moving forward with what you do now?
That purpose is way more important than dollars. That doing things to make an impact and provide value to the lives of other people always feels better than making the money. The money is easy to make. It comes and goes. It's great to have it. Yes, we need it in our society, but I had the nice house. I had the cars. I had the trips. I had the stuff, and that was all nice. It was great. I don't want to confuse anybody. I like nice things, but I'll tell you what means so much more to me is the memories of the feedback I got from people whose lives were impacted because of the improvements I helped them make in their health, their mindset, their own personal development, the difference that it made for them to finally feel happy about who they were. And that kind of stuff, the purpose behind things, to me anyways, is so much more valuable. And it's stuff that you can take with you, knowing that you focused on making an impact over profit. And as I said, money's great. And I don't want to confuse anybody there on that. Like, I like money, sure. But I'm telling you, man, the feelings you get from knowing that you tried hard to make an impact in the lives of other people, to me, is so much more valuable.
Right. That's real purpose. And now I'm going to take that and I'm going to speed us up until more recent times and talk about your current business. And before I do that, I want to give a big shout out to my sponsor, Gallant Media. Shameless plug. He made this shirt for me. You know this guy. Who is this? Come on.
Is that Che Guevara?
No. Tragically hip, Gord Downey.
Oh,
yeah, I know. The colors maybe throw it off. It's a small screen. That's who it is.
Like a colored version of Che Guevara.
Well, it could be that too. Whatever you want, it's $20. No, you throw them on there. So yeah, my sponsor, Gallant Media, also made this mug for me. How much does that look like me? Come on.
Exactly like you.
It's exactly like me in cartoon form. So anyways, I want to give a huge shout out to my sponsor.
Go Gallant Media.
Yes, Gallant Media. Now, in regards to your current day model and what you're doing, brick and mortar, Switch Energy is the name of your business. And I remember sitting down with you a few years ago, and you were still collecting some pretty good residuals through a network marketing company.
Yeah. And
you were kind of saying, like, I think I'm ready to walk away from that. And I don't know, I'm going to go into solar. And
yeah,
I mean, I'm sitting there in front of you, like, this is, that's different. Not often are people ready just to walk away from one thing, like just leave it all behind and go into something like solar, which at the time was probably even more so niche, opposed to being a little bit more widely accepted, by the public.
Yeah.
And I remember talking to a couple of mutual friends, about, Matt's going to be doing the solar thing. And everyone's like, yeah, well, fuck, if anyone's going to be able to do it, Matt's going to do it. And then within next to no time, not only would you be considered, an expert in the field, I mean, you hired quite a few staff. You had a spot, you had a brick and mortar a building, and you're doing some big time contracts with developers and bringing solar to people's conscience. So, what gave you that confidence to be able to move forward and do exactly that? What gave you so much confidence in solar?
Well, I would again have to credit my own personal development. I would have to, throw shout outs to the books, the people that before me were leaders, and the belief that if someone else can do it, I can do it too. Mm-hmm. And it's just that I need to know the things that they knew in order to produce similar results. Mm-hmm. And I was really willing and committed to getting my own personal education leveled up as high as it possibly could go. And I continue to do that today. And I was willing to take a risk, like we kind of talked about before. There's no real gains without stepping out in front of out of the comfort zone, right? If you don't take some chances, you'll never know what you can achieve. And it's just like, I had no experience as a personal trainer when I got into personal training. I had no experience as a network marketer when I got into network marketing. I had no experience in solar when I got into solar. But it doesn't mean I can't learn. And what I really was able to do was surround myself with other great people. I was willing to humble myself and ask a lot of questions and be curious and go back to being a very open-minded individual and willing to get other alternative points of view, and to really understand that humans are very smart and we constantly make progression. A funny analogy, but it's really true, is we didn't leave the Stone Age because we ran out of stones. And, we're not going to leave the oil age because we run out of oil. Is oil something that got us to where we are? 100%. And thank you so much, oil. And I love it. However, we are, again, advancing. We have an abundant amount of energy that hits the earth every single day from the sun. And if we can harness that properly, we have an absolute abundance for everybody.
Right. So here's a question for you.
Isn't sending us a bill.
3 like short, simple misconceptions people have about solar. Bam, bam, bam.
It's too expensive.
Okay.
Unreliable.
Okay.
And
those two are really good.
yeah. And on the reliability factor, what we need is battery storage. So they're kind of correct in that one. And the too expensive thing, you're going to be paying for electricity from somebody. You can either rent it or you can own it.
Right.
The sun, like I said already, is not sending you a bill every month once that system is paid off.
Mm-hmm.
And then another one, I guess, would be something that comes up is just the embedded carbon in the production of solar panels and solar technology. And I would agree. Is it perfect right now? No. But I would also say that those smart people that have been working on innovations and technology for a long time continue to pour money into the development of new product in this field. And there's all kinds of money being thrown at it from all kinds of great companies and smart people. And we're continually coming up with new and better ways to collect that energy and harness it. Yeah. So is everything perfect at the moment? No. Is it getting better year over year? Yes. And is it coming down in cost? Absolutely.
Right.
Tremendously.
Yeah. Matthew Britt, solar cowboy, correct?
Yeah, well, and
I like it.
The funny thing with all of that was, again, I just try to find ways to be a little different and memorable. And I kept, my team kept saying, you got to have a fancy title. You got to be CEO or whatever. And I was like, do I really? Mm-hmm. So I was like, what do I want on my business card? So at first I was just straight up solar cowboy.
I like that.
Now as I've gotten a little more successful in the space, I've succumbed to the titles, and I do have that title of CEO on my card now.
Yeah, well, it's a well-deserved title, my friend. Like, really, you're an individual, and there's not a lot of people that I admire, like that I hold on a pedestal like that I see on a pedestal.
Well, and don't get me. I don't think you should put me up there, but
don't get me wrong. I'm looking straight across at you. But like I admire your determination. I admire your will, your intellect. I have personally learned so much from you over the years, and I hope that there were some scraps that I left behind as well that offered some perspective to you. But we always have really fascinating conversations, the type of talks to where you look down at the phone and you're like, oh my God, it's been too long, right? Like we got to get going and do other things. Yeah. But we managed to make that time for one another. And one of the things that you were very deliberate on in some of our discussions, going back to personal development, which you've touched on a number of times now, which is basically kind of almost, it's another language as far as I'm concerned. Some people speak personal development and some people don't. And depending on that level of communication, it's going to vary the outcome. And being impeccable with your word. And I recall sitting down at a table with you saying like, oh, I'm trying really hard to become impeccable with my word. I said, well, why are you trying so hard? Right. And setting up these obstacles for myself, even within my own speech and wanting to get better, opposed to I'm much better with my speech today than I was yesterday. My speaking is becoming more impeccable each and every day, opposed to harnessing it or anchoring it to something that's negative or a connotation that would insinuate that it would be hard. Where did your fascination with words come from? And I think that's going to give people a really good understanding of how powerful your words are in some of the things that we're going to talk about moving forward.
Well, Jim Rohn was a great example of language and how powerful language is, and making sure that you choose carefully the things that you say. And one of the ones that really always rang true to me, and I'm experiencing it now that I have a daughter, is when parents say to their children, or when boyfriend says to their girlfriend or whatever, the words of "What's wrong with you?"
Right.
What's wrong with you? Right? Or what's wrong? When really the statement should be, what's troubling you, J-Man?
Right.
Right?
Right.
Those kind of simple slip-ups, or as Jim calls it, lazy with language, make a big impact.
Right.
if we don't pay attention to the words that come out of our mouths, we can oftentimes do things that damage or have unintended consequences. So it's very important for us to not be lazy with language and to really invest time in understanding and being aware of how do we communicate to others. Mm-hmm. And more importantly, how do you communicate to yourself?
Right.
Because the conversation that you're having more than any other conversation is the one that's playing in your own head the whole time you're awake, every day. Mm-hmm. And it's, what are you saying to yourself during that time?
Right.
It's really important.
Absolutely.
Most people have no idea what they're saying.
That's crazy. The dialogue that people have in their own brains. And I'll say it again. I've prefaced it before when I did my Words of Wisdom Wednesdays, but I had a segment, and one of these words of wisdoms was burnt bacon and peanut butter. And when you say that with most people, they're like, ooh, that's gross, right? And it was only after I actually gave it a try myself that I enjoyed it, right? And how often do we shut down these avenues that we don't think will be enjoyable based on just that immediate reaction, that voice that's going on in our head, opposed to learning how to silence that and really be able to survey what's happening around you, to have that next level of awareness. And awareness, this is big, because I believe awareness plays a big role in what's going on in today's society in regards to coronavirus. And I'd like to ask you in regards to, do you feel that people, man, this is, I want to make sure that I'm not like ostracizing anybody or making people feel that they're not of a certain level. But in my experience, that the people that I know that are in my circle, entrepreneurs, self-employed individuals, people that have practiced personal development, seem to have a much different view on what's happening in today's society than, let's say, the person that clocks into 9 to 5. And I've never been the person that slams a 9 to 5er. You have a 9 to 5 that you enjoy, whether it gives you purpose or it doesn't. Go for it. You make a great salary. You're able to buy nice things, provide a nice lifestyle for yourself and your family. I'm all for it. But the more critical thinking that generally you get from someone that has to go out there and do it on their own, they need to observe things from all different sides, to where if you clock in a 9 to 5, a lot of those people aren't in positions to where they really have any decision-making power, opposed to someone that's in business for themselves that can pivot just like that. You know, they see something different that they want to do with their business, boom, they learn about it, they do it. So how do you find that those critical thinkers that work for themselves might differentiate from someone that clocks into the 9 to 5, or possibly you don't have that view whatsoever? I've just seen some of your posts, etc., and I'm assuming that maybe you're feeling the same type of thing.
Well, what I can say is, first and foremost, that I'm very concerned and hurting for the people that are and have been affected by this, both directly, maybe being impacted by COVID-19 and actually having it themselves and suffering. I'm also very concerned and care immensely about everybody who's affected financially and who's being told to stay home. And, you know, just thinking about, for example, all of the people who may be in an abusive relationship who now don't have a way to get away from that every day. Mm-hmm. Or the children that are maybe in an abusive household that now don't have the safe haven of school. There's a lot of things that are going on, ripple effects from this virus. Yeah. So first and foremost, I want everybody to know that I care about that. And this is a very scary, concerning time in human history. Mm-hmm. Now, what are my current beliefs? And my beliefs change.
Yes, but in regards to, though, an entrepreneur compared to maybe the 9 to 5, or do you see that comparison first before you just dive into your own personal thoughts?
Well, the reason I would say there's a difference there, and this is a general high level difference, mm-hmm. is that one, the entrepreneurial side forces you to think outside of the box, mm-hmm. and not take things at face value so mm-hmm. often. Whereas when I had a job as let's just go back to one of the first jobs that I had, where I was a ramp manager running the ramp services business at the Thunder Bay Airport. And my job at that time, I didn't have to question things because the entrepreneur who owned that business created the box for me to function inside.
Right.
So even another example could be the network marketing industry, right? You have in network marketing, there's this whole rhetoric about the pyramid scheme and it's a scam and this, that, and the other thing. Mm-hmm. And that's true for certain companies.
Right.
That's true for certain people's experiences in the industry. But it doesn't mean that that is true about the whole industry, right? And becoming someone who was willing to open their mind and take the negative side and hear what's being said there and consider it and research it, and then taking also as much of a high level view of the whole space as I could and analyze all of it, and then do my own research and come to my own decisions on whether it was good or bad.
Right.
Allowed me to start stepping back from things and look at things in a different way. So as a general statement, does the entrepreneur oftentimes get put into a position where they have to question things a little bit more and don't take things as immediately as what we're told? Yes. But maybe that's also why we become entrepreneurs in the first place, is because our brains are already kind of hardwired that way anyways.
Fair enough. Okay, that's a very fair point. Now, the thing that I'm most concerned about, like, listen, there is a lot of information out there. There's a lot of civil unrest that's starting to happen around North America. I don't want to get too much into the conspiracy side of things right away. I mean, I'm not afraid to go there, but I think what's stopping a lot of the mainstream getting into the issues that might be a little bit more of an outlier stance is we're not dealing with the front line of things, right? When people start talking about this, that, and whatever that are far off in, right center field, that will intimidate people and push them away. Opposed to, let's focus on what's right here in front of us right now, is that there is this virus. Mm-hmm. It is most definitely real, and it's most definitely costing people's lives. Okay. Yep. And I also want to say, very much like you, to echo Matthew's sentiments, that I too want to make sure that everyone knows that I have the greatest amount of empathy for anyone out there that is being touched in regards to the loss or people that are sick, etc., on top of everybody that's being affected right now, one way or another. Yeah. Let's just make that clear. I do care. Mm-hmm. Now, the thing that I have been concerned about since the very beginning, before anything else was floating around, was our civil liberties. Yes. My rights as a Canadian citizen. And people think, I'm bananas because of that. Like, I'm taking it too seriously. I don't know how anyone can't take it seriously enough, because we're talking about the foundation of how we go about our day-to-day. So
what democracy is supposed to be.
That's right. So I can do the 6 feet of social distancing. I can stay in my house for a bit, right? And now what's starting to happen is that people are questioning the legitimacy of the information that they're getting. It's obvious that government's not being 100% transparent with us. And I've actually heard that from sources, believe it or not. And at the end of the day, if you're not going to put your trust in me as a Canadian citizen, that I'm intelligent enough to react properly with the right information, the metrics, etc., then this is kind of what you're going to get. You're going to get this unrest. So how do you feel in regards to, the infringement on our civil rights? Of course, with the Quarantine Act, that allows them to be able to, amend what our rights look like to some degree, or at least the perception that they can, not being able to go out into parks and get fresh air and all that kind of stuff. How do you feel in regards to the steps that have been taken early on to kind of get this whole thing under control?
I'm concerned. I definitely am worried that there is something that we are not being told. And the only reason that I have that belief is because of history. It has happened many times in the past where we have been misled. And we don't even need to go far back into history to really see that as a truth.
Very much so. But before we get there, your civil liberties, because I see where you're going already, and I want to go there too. Okay, go ahead.
I'm not going to go way off, because what I'm getting at there though is what has happened in the past is there's been a story told about something,
right,
which gets us afraid,
yes,
creates fear, and people gladly give up their rights to feel safe.
Mm-hmm.
People give up their rights to feel safe. And who the fuck is going to take care of you? You are. Who's responsible for you? You are. Right now, because we're all afraid and because all of our livelihoods have been shut down, we're now dependent on our government to take care of us.
Right.
That is not good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And how many people are unknowingly giving up their rights? What is happening behind the scenes right now?
Oh, the vast majority of people are giving up their rights. And
right?
Gladly, like you said, they're gladly giving up their rights.
Yes, because we're terribly afraid of this unknown thing.
Right. And listen, Matthew, I'm all for people being afraid. I get it.
Sure.
I'm concerned. I don't use the term afraid so much opposed to, being concerned when it comes to our civil liberties. And it's the fact that there's people out there that are crying for a lockdown. Like they're saying, we want a lockdown. They think if we lock this down, that this thing is just going to go away.
It's not going to go away. What we have to remember is COVID is not going away. It is a part of our life forever now.
Yeah.
It's not going to go away.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that we're going to continually deal with.
Yeah. So I'm personally, I'll say it like I'm upset that people seem to be so reluctant to wanting to look a little bit more into the information. And again, I'm going to stick with rights just a little bit longer before I just go, woo, like I don't mind. I don't mind. I'll do it. Like I'll go there and share my thoughts. I'll be 100% transparent. But like the next level now, and this is all through the same news conduits that people are getting their other information about this doomsday virus, et cetera. But now our freedom of speech and our freedom of expression are now coming under fire by the government, to where now they're trying to pass legislation to control a lot of the information that we get via the internet in regards to what's happening right now with COVID.
I've already had things be censored off Facebook.
That's right. So now now this is not just Facebook. We're talking about the internet in general, where that will give them the ability to control what would be fake news, right? So if somebody wanted to search something on COVID-19 and it was a little bit conspiracy theorish or whatever, they have the right now to strike that from the internet, to where I don't have the right to view that information.
And who the fuck decides what's a conspiracy theory or not?
Right. So now taking it to Facebook, that's another platform. If they want to ban fake news, I mean, that's on them, right? I still don't agree with it. But in regards to like our own government trying to also pass legislation to make it a punishable offense to share that information, that's really scary. And people are so caught up in fear right now, and fear of loss and fear of getting this virus, et cetera, that all this stuff, they're putting it right underneath our nose. It's right in front of our eyes, and failing to see that they're going for these grabs. The Emergency Act, Trudeau tried to enact the Emergency Act, which would have
they've just done in Alberta.
Yeah, that would have taken away everything from us. And
it's been enacted in Alberta.
Yeah, and the premiers, voted at least for here. Like, we're not going to do it on a country-wide level. And then also there was the power grab for the money, which was about a month ago, and the ability to tax, et cetera, whatever, without basically having to claim any of the monies that they're moving around. So there have been multiple power grabs, and it just goes to show me that, like, man, like, there's a lot of stuff that's going on here when you think we should be focusing on one thing and one thing only, which is the spread of COVID. And people are forgetting, I believe, what they heard in the very beginning. It was about flattening the curve. Yeah. That's what we were supposed to be focusing on, flattening the curve. And 80% plus of people in Canada are supposed to get this virus. Like, it just, take it or leave it, there's a pretty good chance that you're going to get this virus. So I believe we've flattened the curve. Number one, this stuff was floating around since early in the new year, right? And we're just going about our business, and people had flus, and a lot of people think that maybe they had COVID then. And then we started putting people in their homes, the social distancing. You've seen the drone shots of what the Capitol looks like. There's nobody outside. So the numbers obviously dramatically would have to come down. So now that we've taken those measures, why is it still that we're acting like this is going to be something that's going to claim 100 or 200,000 lives? When did that narrative change? When did that narrative change for you? When did this pop onto your radar to where you started to think, I think there's something else going on here? Why so many power grabs, and why so much need for control courtesy of our government?
I thought it from the second that I heard about it.
Really?
That there's going to be, I thought, isn't this interesting? I thought, isn't this interesting? We're now all being told to stay in our houses, and lockdown is in, so that other people, and again, I understand that things that spread can be controlled by keeping people apart. Yes, that's why I've stayed at home since March 13th. I don't want to be a contributing factor to getting other people sick. I personally know people who have been in ICU dealing with what doctors have told them was COVID-19. How do I know, or how do they know that it actually was? I don't know.
Right.
But what I do know is that they were sick. I'm glad they're healthy again, but I don't want to be passing that to anybody else. I have parents who are in their late 60s. They're a high risk for stuff like this. And I can completely appreciate that part of keeping everybody safe. But the part that always concerns me is that what is really going on behind the scenes, because we're kept in the dark because we can't handle the truth. Right? The masses can't handle the truth. We can only handle portions of the truth. And like, let's not fucking be ignorant here. Money is always a core driver of the messaging. Always. Mm-hmm. Who owns what?
Right.
Right? Mm-hmm. Look at lobbying groups. Lobbying groups will represent whoever pays them the most money.
Right.
And what will they do with that? They will go and push politicians to do certain things for them with money.
Right.
It's a rigged system. Is it all bad? No. It's not all bad. There's so much good. Right. But we can't fucking pull the wool over our eyes and say that, again, we're completely being told the truth.
Right. Corruption plays a role in our everyday life. I mean, that's just something that's happening every day. We know it's happening, right? Yes. We watch the documentaries. The information is out there, but to worry about all these different things, it's almost like there's just too much information, and you have to bypass it if you want to be able to live a normal life.
Yeah, it doesn't happen here, right?
And
that's how often do we say it couldn't happen here.
I know that I've been attacked a couple of times as, not being an expert. I'm just some guy on the internet. And I think that common sense has gone out the window because of this fear, which is normal, right? When you're scared, common sense goes out the window, and, you start acting irrationally, or you say things irrational, or you just start behaving a little bit differently than you usually would. And you can see there's some really non-combative people out there right now, on social media, et cetera, that are engaging, right? Because it's such a polarizing topic. Now, you talked about, big bucks and money running everything. And, the big ticket item right now that everyone would be talking about in regards to the dollars would be vaccines.
Yep.
Vaccines have been around for a very, very long time. There have been some vaccines that have absolutely changed the landscape of this planet for the good. There are some incredible vaccines out there. Modern medicine can do some amazing things.
Yes, it has.
And there's also some vaccines that have been created that have been absolutely devastating to humanity, that have been swept under the rug, that people just don't want to pay attention to. Like some of the shit that's happening other places in the world, number one, that have been going on forever. Like, just the testing grounds for fucked up vaccines. And then there have been some stuff that have happened on home soil that have been really crazy. And the name that tends to come up over and over is, Bill Gates. And he's just happened to prophesize, this dilemma that we're dealing with right now. That's nor here nor there. I don't know. It's only speculation as far as I'm concerned. I won't take it any deeper than that. But, he did predict this. He has spoken about depopularizing the planet. He's always been a big proponent of vaccines. He just had a documentary on Netflix. It just seems all this is lining up pretty nicely if you connect the dots. And so in regards to this vaccine, I'm assuming that you echo my beliefs in regards to this. Seems to be a really big push towards a vaccine that will obviously stimulate countless billions or trillions of dollars, or Lord knows how much, into a global economy.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we just end the podcast there. I like to do your research.
Yeah, well, here's one thing that has been. So, Mr. Gates, bless his soul.
Here we go.
He has started a foundation to positively impact the lives of people around the world. And I believe that that's part of his intention.
Right. Polio, correct?
Many things. He has a toilet to bring sanitation to places. Right. There's all kinds of things.
Right.
He also now, and this is public record, his foundation is an investor. Okay, so his foundation invests and owns things. What are some of the things that his foundation owns, J-Man? Vaccine companies.
Right.
So ask someone who owns vaccine companies if we need more vaccines. What's the answer going to be?
Of course.
Of course we do. It's like asking your insurance agent, hey, Mr. Insurance Agent, do I need more insurance? Fucking right you do, Matt.
Yeah, of course. Always need more insurance. Right? Yeah.
And you have, this Anthony Fauci from the United States, who, again, publicly, on record, in 2017, spoke at a university. I could be incorrect. I think it was Georgetown. And he said that during President Trump's term as president, there would be a surprise outbreak.
Yeah, there would be like a pandemic or something of that nature. Yeah.
No, he said there will be a surprise outbreak. Those were the words. How does Anthony Fauci know there will be a surprise outbreak?
Right.
Right?
Okay. And now, go ahead, finish.
And that just makes a person like me go, what did he know that we did not know?
True. Now, here's the thing. Most people aren't going to get that far, right? Most people aren't get that far. So when you and I are having that conversation or whatever, like, sure, I'll sit there and I'll say, yeah, sure. You know, I know that, I've heard that. To the person that has absolutely no interest, they don't care about, you know, getting rid of their fundamental rights as a Canadian citizen for the greater good, which is what they believe, right? Which is what they're doing for true. But I mean, you know, obviously there's a lot of people that also disagree, which is why, again, you know, there's so many protests happening around North America. So
they're happening around the world. People are protesting around the world. The government's overreaching hands right now. Yeah,
sure. So, you know, how do you reach those people that they're not willing to go that far yet? I think, you know, that's the problem. And I'm not going to say, you know, whether it falls, you know, here or there or whatever. I think it's really important that people just start taking advantage of the information that's out there and educating themselves, right?
Here's the thing, J-Man, I'm going to cut you off right there, and only because
it's my podcast and I cut you off. But go ahead.
Well, hey, now we're fighting for who's getting the attention. The major important thing is, and you'll hear this from all the people who are thinking outside the box, they will all say, go do your own research. And the mainstream sources say, those crazy conspiracy theorists, or those anti-vaxxers, or those, they'll make fun of it, right? They all say, trust me and no one else.
Right.
Whereas everybody who is thinking differently, I'll sit here and say it. Don't fucking believe me. What the hell do I know? I don't know shit.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what I do know. That we should ask questions of people in authority.
Mm-hmm.
We can't always just think that people in authority are doing things because they care about us.
Mm-hmm.
Ask questions. Dig. Do your own research. Go look, and go look some more. And what you'll see is as you consider all sides, you'll start to see all the people who are saying a different narrative than the mainstream story. They all say that. They say, go check other places.
Mm-hmm.
But you'll see the people that say the main narrative say, no. No, it's been proven. It's been proven. It's been proven. It's been proven.
Right. Yeah. I think it's this idea that government doesn't lie. And listen, Canada is definitely a little bit different than the United States. I think that's kind of important to say. It's not to say that the same rules don't apply, but it definitely seems to be more polarizing in the United States in regards to false flag operations, things on a really large scale, right? Opposed to just kind of behind the scenes corruption and stuff like that Canada generally sees. Now, some will argue that Canada plays a much deeper role. I'm not going to bother getting into that. Because again,
maybe they just hide it better. I don't know.
It's speculation, right? I really don't want to go with speculation and stick with fact, because if I could at least name some fact and give out some resources when I do these podcasts, at least those are things that they can check and they can find lots of factual information on it. And I also like to try to expose the lies, whether that goes into, it does go into conspiracy theory. Like, for instance, whether you believe 9/11 was an inside job, an outside job, or whatever it might be, there's definitely inconsistencies. And I find that when you can point out inconsistencies, well, to anybody, not just a critical thinker, I don't see why it would be any different than, you see a cell phone message on your spouse's smartphone saying like, hey baby, you're super hot, Like, I'm going to look at that no matter that's going to make me question things. I'm going to start questioning my relationship, and I'm probably going to bring that phone to my significant other and say, what's this all about? It scares me that there's so many inconsistencies throughout history that have been released, that are public knowledge, declassified documents, all that kind of stuff, that have proven over and over again that government has lied to people. They have lied, and not just like a small lie. These are lies that have gone on to lose hundreds of thousands, millions of lives over decades for absolutely no reason. Vietnam would be one of those. Like, the hippie movement wasn't just, hey, 420. the hippie movement wasn't just about smoking weed, having fun, and hey, you know, like Woodstock and all that shit. No, they were standing up for an unjust war. They knew that it was an unjust war. They were a lot smarter than they looked, and they were trying to get across an agenda to get the world to take a fucking look. And then, you know, we move up to 9/11. Again, I don't know why. Well, I have an idea. I can't tell you exactly how it happened. I can't tell you how it happened. I won't pretend to say that I do. I know that the fact that 3 buildings that day, not 2, a lot of people know about the Twin Towers. There's also building number 7. All 3 of them fell on their own footprint that day. And, you know, the planes came in at different levels. The 3rd one wasn't even hit by a plane. In the beginning, it's shock and awe, right? I'm just like, that's horrible. And I thought that for years. And then I started to question, okay, like, what are the odds that, like, not one building even tilted over a little bit? Then I started, you know, doing some research, and there's this great website, you know, Architects and Engineers for 9/11, to where there's 3,000 people with PhDs and masters that work in that field that have said that there is free fall in that building, meaning that something cannot be inhibiting the falling of that object, right? So something had to be blown out of the bottom of that building. So I look at these things, and again, I'm no expert, and this goes back to you talking about reading books and finding out things that other people know. Those people are a lot more intelligent than I am. So I'm not going to try to explain it, but I will direct people to go take a look at that information. So Architects and Engineers for 9/11, go take a look at the facts. Who did it? I don't know. Now, in the government report for 9/11, it's all bullshit. It mentions none of that. I mean, you know, we can get into the thermite, which is military grade explosives, right? That's designed to burn at higher levels, which is why, you know, the piles of rubble were burning for weeks, if not a couple of months. I could go on until I'm blue in the face. And again, not saying that I'm an expert, but I know that I've been lied to. I know that that is not true. I know that Vietnam is not true. So, like, why would they send millions of people to die in Vietnam? Why would they topple down 3 buildings, 2 of them with people in them during the light of day? I don't know. Why would they allow a virus to circulate around the globe? I don't know. But like, these things happen. So are we in the middle of a conspiracy theory? I'm not sure. Is this something that was released purposely? I'm not sure. Is this something that just released on its own accidentally and government took advantage? I'm not sure. Or could this just be a virus and all this other shit doesn't exist? I'm not sure. But I'm going to ask myself those questions. And right now I'm leaning towards there's something fucking fishy. And it's not just you, Matt, and it's not just me. It's like people that are staying at home realize that this is a disease, a virus that can kill, right? And they're scared shitless. Now, remember that, people that are staying at home, that there are tens of thousands of people, not just in North America, but like Matt said, around the world, that are risking their lives. They're risking their lives to go out there and protest. They're risking their lives to stand up for their rights as citizens, to be able to come and go freely, to be able to go out there and provide for their families so they don't lose everything that they've worked so hard for. All these things. They're not just sitting there behind a keyboard saying, like, I don't fucking agree with this. They're out there risking their lives for whatever reason, whether it be belief in government, whether it be belief in, you know, what this virus actually is, or just the simple belief that they believe that there was a constitution that was put in place for a reason, and it's to be respected. And we have to find a way to get through this without fucking up all our civil liberties. Because once we go there, we're done. Right? Like, I'll take this to an extreme, Matt, and, you know, people are going to fucking roll their eyes, and so be it. But it's true, and it's a sane statement. Like, Hitler was a regular guy. Hitler was a regular dude. Hitler was also a politician that a lot of people don't know. And how does somebody like Hitler almost take over all of Europe? Like, he wanted to be a global conqueror. Like, who the fuck wants to do that? People always say, well, why would anybody want that much power? I don't know. Why did Hitler want that power? But he created a narrative that it was a Jew's fault, right? And took that fear, right? Feeding on people's fear, that he got people, like, to turn on one another, right? Like, where Jews would kill other Jews to be able to hide the fact that they were of Jewish descent.
Yep.
Right. And based on that, it didn't start as an army of you see those, what would almost look like the wide shots of how large this army was. And he's this little guy all the way, almost a mile away, talking on a microphone. That started with fear. Am I saying that's where we're going? No. But that is something that happened not that long ago. That happened not in our lifetime, but our grandparents' lifetime. And to think that we're so far removed from anything like that ever happening again, I just don't understand it. It's the same government. Nothing's changed since then.
We are in very unsettling times. We also live in the best time in human history. Right? We have the best medicine, best education, best ability to travel. Our life expectancy is longer, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's so many great things happening. But we can't lose sight of the fact that all throughout history, we have had a small group of people trying to control the masses. What makes us think that does not happen today?
Mm-hmm. Right.
You got to be completely closed-minded to not realize that.
Mm-hmm.
It still happens today. And you bring up the turning point for me. When I was 21, I guess it was, I was 21. I was working in Thunder Bay at the harbor and a steel yard for a company called Harris Rebar. And we got sent home from work because a plane smashed in the World Trade Center. And because we were at a harbor, obviously those major things were things that got shut down, right? And, it was airports, it was harbors, it was all kinds of things like that immediately were shut down. So we went to my buddy's house who was working with me, and we sat there and we watched basically most of the day, watched the news and watched the second plane hit the second tower and all that stuff. And obviously you're scared. I was a 21-year-old. We're scared. What's going on? Are we about to go to war? Who knows, right? But when I saw those buildings fall, the way they fell, just like you, it made me go, that doesn't seem right. I'm no engineer. I don't build 110 story skyscrapers for a living, but I do work with steel. I did work in a steel yard that actually fabricated rebar for skyscrapers and bridges and towers. And one thing that I quickly learned very, very fast was that jet fuel does not burn hot enough to melt steel.
Right.
And it made me say, what else is not true about what we're being told right now? And the fact that as I dug more and more and more, similar to you, I discovered the whole engineers and architects for 9/11 truth movement. And all of these smart people who do that for a living said those buildings fell in under 11 seconds, meaning that every second, 10 stories of concrete and steel and powerful things evaporated. It's like those buildings fell with nothing in between the top and the bottom.
Right.
A plane that had jet fuel in it that burned for under, I don't even know the total time, it was under 3 hours. It's fucking impossible for it to melt those whole things.
Right.
And if we could be lied to about that, what else?
Right.
What else possibly can we be lied to about?
Right. And Matt, I think, a big part of it is that it's so difficult that there's people that are also in our space, though, our headspace, that share these facts, right? But then they also go too far. Do you know what I mean? Like there's people like you and I that can have a rational conversation about it. I got a little bit heated, right? But I mean, I have people that are conspiracy theorists that send me shit on the fucking regular, and it's annoying as fuck. I can't, like, I mean, all the time they're sending me this, that, whatever, boom, 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 not even having a dialogue with me about what's being shared. And I watch a lot of it, and it's fucking garbage. And I think that's really damaging, that there's definitely a lot of information out there, but to be able to decipher what's good information and what's bad information, do you think there's a responsibility by just the individual that's sharing that information to make sure that there is a dialogue that's being open, that they are fact checking the stuff that they watch before they share it, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, we have a certain kind of responsibility, I suppose, for that kind of thing. But I think what's most important, though, is that people just do their own research. Dig up, you don't have to watch everything that's sent to you. There's definitely people out there that seem to talk a lot of garbage. I don't know how we're going to get away from that. I think that's part of what free speech is all about, is that people can say whatever the fuck they want, and you can choose to buy into it or not buy into it. That's your choice too. Mm-hmm. And knowing that history repeats itself, and we know there's that statement about power corrupts absolutely, and absolute power corrupts absolutely, or something like that. There's that one statement about it, and it's so fucking true. When people get into these positions of monster authority and power, which, again, all throughout history, we can see it written. It's been written over and over and over again about,
false narratives,
but also times like of conquering, right? All throughout history, you had groups of civilizations that would go out and conquer other nations. That stuff still happens today. Yeah. There's still secret covert wars going on all around us between countries. Mm-hmm. It's happening.
Yeah, it is happening. Funded by the United States too.
And who knows what other countries are funding things? But it's like, let's not kid ourselves. Are China and the U.S. friends? No. Mm-hmm. The citizens might be, right? Would I be friends with a whole bunch of Chinese citizens? Absolutely. Do I want to go to war with them? Fuck no. I think we should all be at peace with one another. We should all love one another and care about one another. And there's enough food for all of us. Our medical system is good enough to take care of all of us.
Right.
But governments, high level, there's a lot of conflict going on. A lot of secret wars about controlling the oil and controlling the food supply and making sure that we control the gold that's over here, or this metal from over there, or, there's all kinds of intelligence battles going on secretly behind the scenes.
True. And you know what? I'll reference this to my radio days and working for a station to where there was a top 6 at 6, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just saying this is small level stuff, right? A radio station opposed to what happens, with the big cogs, the big wheels and gears and all that kind of stuff. Guess when the top 6 at 6 was generated? The day before.
Day before.
Sometimes a couple of days before.
Yeah.
Right? But they were able to just predict kind of what the hot tunes were going to be, right? Naturally. Yeah, and then if someone was to call in and request a song, then I just put that on the intro of the song. Hey, Matt calls in and says, I want to hear Coldplay. Right? And then I play, hey, J-Man, how you doing? I'm like, hey, I'm doing fine. What's your name? You go, my name's Matt. I'm like, Matt, what do you want to hear? What do you think should be on the top 6, And then you're like, oh, I think Coldplay should be there. And then I play that phone call, and then boom, Coldplay is on the radio. It seems like a whole bunch of people are calling in and requesting, right? Now, is that a form of propaganda? It's harmless, but it's a lie, right? I'm playing it's a false narrative, right? Yep. Yes, it is a top 6 at 6, but I'm telling people that they can call in and they can influence the tunes that are going to be there. I'm giving them false hope. When the reality, that's not true. It's not true at all. And you know what? Like, that it goes back to, the false narratives that I was talking about in regards to Vietnam. That was a war that was a false flag operation. We talk about, 9/11, and movies are made about 9/11 nowadays, right? The weapons of mass destruction that were never found, to where, like, Matt Damon is, overseas, standing in a sandbox saying, like, we're here to find these weapons of mass destruction, but they're nowhere to be found. Like, I mean, right? It's and then if you were to ask people what was the deal about, going there in the first place, no one talks about like, toppling dictators and things of that nature. It's for oil. Everyone, that's just common. That's common knowledge there, that we went there for oil, completely forgetting why we actually went. It was just, it was war for weapons of mass destruction. We must retaliate for this horrible thing that happened on our home soil, right? And we just kind of watched from Canada going like, okay.
And if we don't go get those weapons of mass destruction, he's going to destroy us too and take away all our rights.
Exactly. Do it again. And then, of course, there was, I think people forget, anthrax. It was unsafe to open your mail because there might be anthrax in it. Like, what the fuck? As far as I was concerned, that was just a band. their album sales must have went up. People were like looking into anthrax. Right. So, so who knows? Like, quite potentially, there is a narrative that's being built around this virus that just happens to be here now. Was it something, again, like I said, was it created? Is this an opportunistic move on it? Or is everything exactly how it seems, and are we being told the truth? Common sense would tell me that there's definitely something off. We're nowhere close to the numbers that were expected. Sweden, for instance, great example. And I hate how people look at Sweden. There's a lot of people that are sharing Sweden almost like as they hope they fail. Oh, like, look at Sweden. Look how many deaths they have. Stupid, stupid, stupid. Like, listen, there's no one in Sweden right now protesting on their capital saying that we don't like this freedom that we have and we all want to be locked indoors. No, they're just told practice social distancing. There's a healthy relationship that people have with Sweden, with their government. Like 65% of people really trust their government, and the government trusts them to be just intelligent citizens and just let's just take care of one another. And so, some stats just came out like, yes, they spike. I mean, they're supposed to spike there. They have no specific quarantine measures other than social distancing, no groups over 50. So shutting down businesses and working remotely. And it turns out that Michigan, that has had much stricter regulations placed upon them and then a lockdown that they revolted against, Michigan has more cases and more deaths than Sweden does, just pretty much going about their lives, right? So when I start seeing numbers like this, when I start seeing the predictions that were supposed to be in the 100,000s and the millions now still being underneath what is considered to be a seasonal flu, again, that has me asking some questions. So all I'm asking people to do is just to try to, subside that fear for a little bit, and just to realize that there's other information out there other than the information that you're getting from government, and to just explore that information with an open mind. I'm not saying that you have to agree, right? But if there's just not something, like if your spidey senses aren't going off, like, then you're lost. I don't know what to tell that person. And I've had that conversation with one or two of my friends, and that's great. I guess I wish I could live in that world. To where I just didn't see. But it's very much like the Matrix, know what I mean? Like, I'm just eating that fucking sludge and I'm watching the lines go down the fucking screen, and I'll just have to live without that stake. And for me, this has profoundly affected me. And maybe, you can speak on that as well, like how it's affected you. But for me, even if everything just went back to normal, this has impacted me in a way that I honestly don't think that I'm going to be able to forget this, nor should I.
None of us are going to.
I just won't be able to live my life the same. I will always, I believe, be on high alert because of something like this now that has come so close.
Yeah, it's created fear amongst people. Like, you go out now and you see everybody kind of looking at one another a little bit scared. Everybody's got their face masks on and their bandanas and their gloves, and everybody's beady eyes are kind of questioning, do you have it? Do you have it? Do you have it? Right? So there's like that little weird thing that's happening. And again, the virus is real and people are being seriously affected by it. The fact that, we're going to have a different life going forward is probably very true. And it's concerning that a lot of the things that we thought were normal are now going to be no longer normal, and we're going to have a new normal, and that we're never going to go back to normal until 7.5 billion people receive a vaccine.
Right.
And
nice little dig. That's good.
It's fucking unbelievable.
Yeah. Like the thought that maybe you'd be forced to have your daughter get a vaccine.
Yeah,
Like they
we
say,
all deserve to make our own choices. Everybody deserves that freedom to make their own choice. And to have one of the richest men in the world stand on his media tour, traveling the globe, speaking in all these different stages for years about how there's going to be a pandemic and we need vaccines, and there's going to be an outbreak, we need vaccines. And then we dig a little deeper and we see he owns vaccine companies. Oh, wait, no, it's his foundation. Oh, never mind. It should be okay then.
right.
Right? He owns these companies and he's a primary funder of it. It's called a conflict of interest. No wonder we need more vaccines, right?
Of course.
Then we all make fun of Trump because hydroxychloroquine is working too, and so is high dose vitamin C, and so is strengthening your immune system before getting it, and all of these things that are just immediately left out of the narrative because the only way to really be safe is to vaccinate everybody.
You know what? Great point. And you know what? We'll kind of close on this in regards to talking about this issue, and then we'll end on something a little bit lighter. But in regards to the post that you made, in regards to vaccines opposed to just the everyday things that we can do, that Facebook post got a lot of traction, got a lot of shares. So just maybe explain to people the narrative of that post, what you were saying and trying to get across to people.
Well, what I'm trying to get across is that we don't see the mainstream messaging of right now there's a virus going around. And first and foremost, if we want to make sure as few of us get sick as possible, please, everybody, go get a little bit of sunshine every day. Please, everybody, start really consuming the healthiest foods you can find. Please, everybody, start drinking more filtered water. Please increase your supplementation, buying more vitamin C's and more vitamin A's, and get in your oil of oreganos that are antivirals. And there's no talk about going out and everybody doing a bit of exercise while they're at home. And yes, these are all things we're supposed to know, but zero messaging from the media about that, and the government officials and the World Health Organization. Yeah, they have it buried back on page 98 on the World Health Organization website. Sure. But that's not where people are going every day. They're turning on the fucking news. Mm-hmm. And no one on the news is saying that. And I'm not trying to say that everybody's balled up into this massive conspiracy to make people sick. You can't see, what we have to remember is people do what they're told, right? If you look at the power structure, for example, with the media conglomerates, it's not like the local cable television network anymore is literally owned by husband and wife team who fund it out of their own pockets and pay their staff. No. All these things are controlled from central locations. The media corporations are gigantic, powerful businesses today. Right. They're gigantic. They span the globe, right? You look at somebody like News Corp. I remember a couple years ago, News Corp reached like 4.5 billion people a day with their messaging. 4.5 billion people a day. Think of the influence you have if that's the amount of people you can reach and control the narrative of, right? And who do they get funding from? Like when pharmaceutical companies were allowed to start advertising on television, that's when shit went to hell even more.
Yeah.
Right? You hear now, you turn on any US, like when you travel down the United States and sit in the hotel room and turn on the television, it's prescription drug commercial after prescription drug commercial with a side effect list that's 4 pages long.
Right. We watch these things like on SNL, and we laugh. They do these parodies of these commercials and you laugh, but I mean, it's really not that far of a departure from the actual type of medication commercial that you see.
Yes.
So why are they not using this power, these big media corporations, to just basically give people the lowest common denominator of what they can do to avoid becoming sick or boost their immune system at the very least, opposed to just using it to spread fear? Is basically
because they have money. They have to succumb to their advertising dollar.
Right. Absolutely.
If the pharmaceutical companies are the ones driving the advertising dollars on these TV channels, they don't have a choice. Right. Who do they have to listen to? They have to listen to the pharmaceutical company.
And know what I think, Matt, is that there's definitely a lot of people out there before this even happened that were well aware about Big Pharma and not liking Big Pharma. And there's some like wild shit out there, like Johnson & Johnson, for instance. I never knew about them and like some of the shit that they've been involved with. I just thought it was like baby powder and things of that nature. I'm not going to get into it because I'm definitely not an expert in that field, but I mean, you know, they've ruined lives, like, you know, countless many of lives. And not only that, but no, I'm not going to go there because it's just going to lead to a whole other conversation.
Many rabbit holes we can go down.
Exactly. There's so many, but there's a lot of stuff that's going on in the world. And, you know, Big Pharma has generally been one that's on, you know, I think a little bit more on people's social consciousness. And, you know, this whole vaccine deal, like whether people have made that connection or not, it's Big Pharma. It's like really the same thing. It's the same narrative, and it's always going to be, there's going to be something foreign that we have to put into our body to make ourselves better. Yeah. So Matt, I just want to finish on the fact, you know, where can people find you on social media or your website when it comes to Switch Energy, having people make the switch from regular energy, investing in themselves and investing in their households and getting solar power?
Yep. So for Switch Energy, our website is maketheswitch.ca, maketheswitch.ca. And for me, I'm found on LinkedIn, I'm found on Facebook, all of it under my name, Matthew, 2 T's in Matthew, and Britt, B-R-I-T-T. And I definitely, you know, really enjoy being able to have a good conversation with you, J-Man. And, you know, again, I want to reiterate the fact that we live in the best time in humanity. It's so exciting. Technology is making things abundant for us. We have the technology now for abundant food, abundant energy, incredible shelter, autonomous transportation is coming. You know, the access to education and information is the best it's ever been. This is a chance where we can raise up the billions of people that suffer in energy poverty and education poverty and malnutrition. There's great times ahead. So I don't want to come across like I'm some doom guy, because it's not at all my belief system. What I'm trying to get everybody to understand, and I think you are too, is that we're not always told the truth about things. And if you want a prime example, and this is the example that probably shattered your paradigm and it shattered mine, is just look at what happened on that terrible day, September 11th, 2001, when we got told a story that a group of people from the Middle East grabbed some box cutters, hijacked airplanes, and the most sophisticated air defense system in the world, NORAD, was asleep, and they flew these planes with little training into towers that were built to withstand airplane crashes when they were designed. Because why? They're 110 stories fucking tall, and they might have planes fly into them. They were designed to not fall when that happened. Meanwhile, they fell at free fall speed under 10 seconds to the ground.
Mind blown.
They could lie to us about that. What else are we being misled about?
Right. Let's start there. I'd encourage anyone to start there. Reach out to Matt, reach out to me. Like, I mean, I've done my research on it, some great articles, as well as some great videos to put your way that I know will at least enlighten a little bit more. And it may never go beyond that, but just really important, not only just the truths, finding the truths, it's really being able to find out, you know, what are the lies? Because if we don't know they're a lie, well, then we just take everything at truth, and that's where we lose critical thinking. I think just overall, that's where, you know, we really start to lose our own power as a society, as citizens, etc. So Matthew,
follow the money. Follow the money.
Thank you once again.
Benefits.
I want to give a big shout out to my sponsor, thumbs up, to Gallant Media.
Gallant Media.
They made these beautiful shirts for me. I also have these straight out of toilet paper shirts that maybe you've seen, which are fucking fantastic. Just $20, $5 goes towards the Ottawa Food Bank. And of course, websites, graphic design, print materials, logos, whatever it might be. All right. So again, Matthew, Britt, thank you so much. This was a lot of fun. I think this is the longest podcast that I've done so far. People are going to be like watching in the beginning and like, what the fuck just happened? But it was awesome. Totally awesome. All right. You take care. Be well. Love simply because you can. Take care, Matt.
Thanks, brother. Love you. Have a great day.
You too.